This isn't hot. I just think my assistant should know this isn't hot.
Okay. It's been sitting there for 20 minutes, so.
Cut. Hi, welcome to Rated G TV. My name is Glennis, and you guys know you can call me G. Guys, welcome back to another episode for us to review Readytolove, Season 3, Episode 5. The episode is titled, The Tea is Getting Good. Now guys, it was a lot. We have a lot to talk about today. We got a lot to talk about in this episode today. So the video might be a little longer than normal. Some of the things that I said that I felt like was happening, or what the intentions of people had, you know, when they decided to make certain moves and make certain comments. Some things all came out and played out in this episode. Let's go ahead and get into the episode. The episode starts with Alex, Brian, and Chris, Mr. KG Spoon. They are all at the pool. They were exercising, and Brian was talking to Alex and Chris about his date with Alicia. Of course, he sugarcoated the date and told pretty much Chris that he was thinking about Alex the entire time. But guys, we're gonna get a little bit more into that a little later. The next scene starts with Rashid and Denise. Rashid and Denise are having a conversation. Rashid has brought to Denise's attention, she talked about in the ladies 101 with nephew Tommy. He told her that the comments that she made about him being a narcissist disturbed him. When she first said, "Let me start off by apologizing," I actually thought that she was getting ready to apologize about calling him a narcissist. But she says, "Let me start off by apologizing about what Adriana said." Pretty much saying that Adriana does not understand her perspective and that she should not have gave Rashid or told Rashid what was being said if she didn't understand really where Denise was coming from. Now, Denise did tell Rashid that he had narcissistic traits and that there were things of him that reminded her of an abusive relationship of the past. And of course, she talked about that, and he said he appreciated her for discussing that with him, but in his confessional, he did say again, maybe not the exact words, but he did say that's not really an excuse to be calling me a narcissist. So it looks like at that point, they seem to be pretty cool. The next part of the episode, I like to call this little scene the round table of tea. So in this scene, you have Alicia, Chris, Anthony, Winter, Joy, and Shay. Alicia decides to tell them, "I wanted to get you guys together to kind of spill the tea with you guys about my date with Brian." So basically, she tells them she thought the date went pretty well and that Brian told her he was coming back to her room to cuddle. Now, don't remember him actually saying he was coming back to the room to cuddle. He did say he was going to come back to the room, but she also told him that Shay came and got her and that he was at Alex's room. And Shay. So she was a little excited, you know, giving out the details. And so Alicia pretty much put the question to Chris and Anthony, but she first said to Chris, what would you have done in that situation, you know, if you were Brian? And Chris didn't know what to say. He just, matter of fact, you ever had that moment where you trying to answer the question, but you went blank because you're kind of shocked, you don't know what to say, and nothing comes out? And that's what happened. And in Chris's confessional, he did say he was going to have a talk about Brian to let him know how he should have handled that situation. When Alicia asked Anthony, Anthony said, you know, if it was him, and pretty much told her that he was not coming back to the room, or he wasn't comfortable coming back to the room, and he was not feeling it. Of course, Alicia gives her, you know, perspective of everything. After that, Joy decides to tell everyone, or pretty much discuss with Winter, that Simone did come to her and Jay and say that Jay was in her room without a shirt on. You can tell it caught Winter off guard as like, wait, like, wait a minute, like, what was her intent? Like, she even said, what was her intent behind it? Or whatever. I want you guys, I hope you guys paid attention to when Joy started spilling her tea. Shay was like, this is getting good. This is getting good. She caught got a little excited. I noticed the camera shot to Anthony, and Anthony kind of looked at her, like looked to the side and looked at her like that, like, you're getting a little too excited. So anyway, Shay pretty much said probably was trying to just throw some salt in Winter's game. So Anthony noticed Shay's excitement about the tea, and it kind of looks like it put a bad taste in his mouth. It looks like she's more into mess than there to make connections. So it looks like it brings up a bit of a red flag. And he also says this in his confessional. The next scene, you see Winter and Joy pull Simone to the side and kind of discuss with Simone what she discussed with Joy and Jay. And Winter told her that she was taken aback by that, she was baffled, and that she was kind of hurt behind it. Now, if you guys watched my video last week, I did say in the video that, you know what, I just thought about it. Simone might have been just jealous of the fact that Jay went in the room with Winter, because we know Simone is feeling Jay, so she wanted to put that out there in front of Joy just to get someone on her side so she won't feel rejected. So she felt like, hey, if I talk about Winter, she might get turned off from Jay, and maybe he'll focus more on me. She did confess in the conversation that her comments were made out of jealousy and insecurity. You know, you're an attorney, you would think, you know, you would be a little bit more confident in that, especially when you said you've already worked out certain issues. So what she should have been doing instead of just throwing salt is to just find who was connecting or try to make those connections instead of starting mess. The women mutually decided to let bygones be bygones. Looked like some tears were shed. It appears when Winter decided to say that she was really bothered by it. Simone, I felt like the tears came out because one, she was a little embarrassed about what she said and didn't think they would confront her with it, but also was trying to get a little sympathy by shedding the tears. That's just my opinion, guys. I could be wrong. I'm just saying that's just what I felt. The next scene goes to Chris and Brian. So Chris pulls Brian to the side and discuss what Alicia told him. It cuts between Chris and Brian talking, and it cuts with Shay speaking to Alex and Adriana about the aftermath. She was giving them a debriefing. Of course, she couldn't wait to tell Alex what was going on with that. So it goes back to Chris telling Brian how he should have been straightforward with Alicia, and that he needed to have a private talk to Alicia, and that, you know, he thought, you know, those days of that intent, you know, to ghost somebody was off. So Brian did tell him he did not ghost Alicia. He zombied her. It does cut back to Shay talking to Alex, and then at this point Alicia says, I hear my name. She walks up and then tells Alex she would like to pull her to the side and discuss the aftermath of her date with Brian. One thing I do want to say is I've noticed the last couple of episodes that Alicia, she presents stuff in a way to kind of benefit her. It's almost like she creates this narrative in her mind and flips it to look like she's kind of the victim. I mean, think about it with the whole David thing, when she went back and talked to the ladies and told the ladies what, you know, David said without really getting an understanding. It kind of turns Alex off just a titch off with Brian saying that she felt like if he would do that to Alicia, then of course he would do that to her. But I don't think that's the case. Brian just wasn't upfront with Alicia. We're pretty much telling her he wasn't interested. Then we see Brian and Alicia, and Alicia tells him that she was hurt by him and she cannot pursue him anymore. But it looks like he wasn't pursuing her too much. He just was giving a bunch of fluff because he don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. And basically he said that he doesn't like hurting people's feelings. So I think Brian probably ghosts people a lot in the real world. It doesn't seem like it affects Brian too much and he really cares. It just seems like if you look at his eyes, it seems like it's a load off of his back. There was a part earlier in the episode, there was Naya and Edwin. Whereas Naya basically connects with Chris, but she decided to sit down and just have a conversation with him. And it looks like they connected a lot. After her conversation with Edwin, Naya says in her confessional, not in these exact words, but pretty much that she noticed that she was going after Chris because Chris was the one that was pursuing her. And so it looks like she wasn't taking her time to step out and kind of shoot her shot. There's something that she looks like she's learning about herself that necessarily just going for whoever pursues her. You know, we've all been where we, you know, kind of went through a patch where just dating guys that seem like the ones that approach you or seem like to be more into you, and we pursue that. And sometimes it's a good thing, and sometimes it doesn't work out well. Sometimes we may have to step out of our comfort zone a little bit and step out. And it looks like this is what Naya did. And so now it looks like Edwin is in her time. In the next scene, we see Jay and Joy greeting each other. I'm just start calling them Jay and Jay because I keep messing up their names. But Jay and Joy, they're greeting each other. And Joy decides to talk to Jay and tell him about the conversation that she had with Winter and Simone, and tells him that it appears that she decided to interrupt their conversation and tell about the whole Winter thing because she was feeling insecure and a little bit jealous. Jay seems like he's a little disappointed in Simone and that she tried to stir up some mess. So now he's looking at her funny. And the next scene is our lovely Shay. Shay is talking to Rashid, and Shay is all over the place. Like, I don't even know why she's on the show. Maybe she's on the show for our entertainment. Looks like when she is talking, she's putting a bad taste in Rashid's mouth. He was pointing out his tattoos. He was talking about he was in the fraternity and that he's a Kappa, and she compares him to her ex and says, my ex was a Kappa and he also was the devil. I've been noticing on social media and YouTube, Denise has been getting a hard time about calling Rashid out or saying certain things about Rashid. And sometimes I wonder how much people pay attention to the episodes, or sometimes we have favoritism and we hear what we want to hear. When Denise did mention the things about Rashid that she felt like was narcissistic traits, we're not going to go into this whole defining everything again. Everybody agreed with Denise except for Adriana, and that's because Adriana, you know, she's the only one really at this point that liked Rashid in that way. So I don't think it's strange, even though Shay is all over the place. I can't say she is nosy. She pays attention, she observes, she watches. I don't think that was just a joke or just some type of coincidence. And in the corner, there was Chris and Anthony playing their pool game, and it looks like a bit turned off from Shay, to the fact that, you know, Chris says in his confessional that Shay is a little bit too forward and she just needs to turn the sexy on just a little. And the next scene is Jay and Winter. Jay and Winter briefly talk about the whole Simone situation, and they also talk about each other's attributes and notice characteristics. So basically, Winter is telling Jay that she noticed that he carries himself like a king, like regal, like, you know, a very, you know, gentleman-like, and he states that she carries peace, that he sees peace or feels peace when he's around her. Jay look at Winter a little bit more because she's noticing just not the exterior things about him, but the interior things that he doesn't have to say, that she notices in his body language. Later that night with Cal Funny and Adriana, they're hanging out playing a game of, looks like it's Connect 4. They're talking about their love languages, and Cal Funny talks about Adriana. It seems like their connection is more surface level and more of an attraction, and not at this point, it's not deep or not at an intellectual thing. He says things like, I like how she looks at me. She's tall. She's pretty. You know, things, surface things. But I noticed when he talks about Denise compared to her, he says Denise, of course, is attractive, beautiful, but he always goes in the inner connection that they have. That's what we look in a husband and a wife. That's what we want. We want to be attracted to our spouse, but we also want that deep connection. And it looks like the way he talks about Denise to him is like Denise is the whole package, and he's found a true connection. But we'll see in the next few episodes to come. We have finally got down to Tommy's Tavern. So Tommy has brought all of the guys in, and they are ready to discuss. I'm just going to go through what the guys have said, who their top ladies are. Jay says his top ladies are Joy and Winter. Anthony says his is Winter and Denise. Rashid only mentions Adriana. Brian says Alex. Calfani says deeply, he says his main connection is Denise, and then he said Adriana is on there. He does mention Denise's forwardness and wishes she understood where he was coming from. Little acts of jealousy or telling me that you'll, throw hands and fight for me and stuff like that is just a little bit too much for him. Just kind of back off, a little bit, and it's still early. Chris does mention his is Naya. Edwin mentions his is Joy and Naya. So I don't know if you guys saw that side eye that Chris threw Edwin when he mentioned Naya. After the guys mentioned who their top was, they go on to mention who was in their bottom. Anthony says Shay because he noticed her messiness and lack of connection with the guys. All the guys do chime in about the pool party incident. Edwin does say he notices that she got up when they were having a deep conversation, talking about the conversation was too deep. Rashid, agrees and says the same thing. Calfani did say she's more like a homie. I do want to say that you guys got rid of Danny, and I just think Danny was just really cool, and if maybe she was in the house the resort a little longer, you guys would have saw that maybe y'all should have kept Danny and sent Shay home the first night. But I think maybe she was, putting up her representative. Rashid says he does, and Rashid is the only guy that mentions this. He said he does not connect with Denise. He goes on to tell everyone that Denise talked about him being a narcissist, and that he didn't like the comment, and of course he tied the whole thing back to colorism. I see why Denise apologized for Adriana. I wish she could have explained more and told him that it wasn't about the fact that he was light-skinned, but it was more about what he represented to her. Nephew Tommy does say he wished the whole light-skin, dark-skin thing, when is it gonna stop? I don't know, Tommy. I think the whole light-skin, dark-skin thing between our people is gonna be here until the end of time. I graduated high school in the 90s, 99 actually, and it's was always a light skin, dark skin thing, even though I was more laid back and felt inferior to a lighter skin person. I remember one time I tried to bleach my skin so I can be lighter, because of course they were the ones that were always getting the guys, and the guys preferred the lighter skinned women. Yes, we all know about the whole slavery thing and how certain things was instilled that the lighter skinned person was better than the darker skin, or they were treated better. So you have to get to a point where it doesn't bother you, meaning like we hear different rappers talk about light skin this, light skin that, light skin, we chocolate women, sometimes we don't care who you like. It just seems like at the most random time, men want to bring up, I prefer a lighter skinned woman, or some women do the same thing, but that whole light skin, dark skin thing is gonna be there. So I feel like you gotta just get to a point where you are at peace of what you are and who you are within yourself with your complexion. Anyway, I didn't mean to get that too deep, but he pretty much tells Tommy he did have a conversation. Nephew Tommy says he gives him his props, his kudos, and how he handled that, and that he didn't, lose his cool. And it seemed like the guys, if you watch the guys, they were like saying, okay, is that the only reason why she's not at your top? Because it seemed like you guys, kind of talked it out. But he goes on to say, they just don't have romantic chemistry. Brian also goes on and comments and says that he is not feeling Alicia. So he pretty much tells how she confronted him, how he wasn't comfortable being in her hotel room or her room, and that how he kind of ghosted her. So Tommy pretty much says, now that she's confronted you, now you're saying that she's not in your top. But he says yes, but he also still says, he didn't have any interest in her. Tommy does tell the guys that they have some discussion to do with Alicia, Denise, and Shay, since those three are in the bottom. Chris does pull Alicia to the side and talks to her about, the reason why she's in the bottom. He does compliment her and nicely dismisses her from the show. Alicia does say it was cool. Brian was the only one that she was feeling anyway. Well, Chris did say earlier she told him from the first day that she wasn't his type, which was kind of rude. But I noticed that, she said she was cool, but sometimes when you're cool, not to go and just downplay everyone else. That just seems like you're very angry and kind of bitter about it, to say, well, he was the only one I was here for anyway. So I really don't care what you guys think, but deep down you really do, because you wouldn't make that comment. Then there is Calfani and Denise. Everyone feels like Denise can be kind of rah-rah. But one thing I can say about Calfani is that his presence, when he came in to speak with her, he complimented her, he commanded her attention to the fact that she sat in a submissive way and listened to what he had to say, because of his energy. He built her up first. So he complimented her, told her she was a beautiful woman, the internal things that he liked about her, but he also gave her criticism in a way that she was open to receive it. He told her pretty much that, the whole comment about Rashid, it really bothered Rashid, and she shouldn't have, maybe made the comment and said that. And he also let her know that she needs to open herself up to the process. Now, of course, you can tell the way he stares at her, he's not saying, I'm just totally done with Denise. He pretty much tells her, but most of the guys wanted to see her stay. So she ends up staying, and she seems happy about it. So hopefully she's listened to what he said. And again, with that, I just want to give Calfani just a hand clap, because that just was some maturity in that. You see that Edwin is talking to Shay. So Edwin pretty much talks to Shay about the whole pool situation and how he didn't appreciate what she did. Pretty much telling him that none of the guys felt like she had a connection with any of them. And she, of course, she did agree with them. I think she was just there to be, the nosy old lady that sits in the window and watches the neighborhood and tells everybody's business. So I just felt like that's what she was there for. She did make a comment and say that time is so valuable, and she has other things to do. And if you had other things to do, why sign up for a reality show that's going to take you from it? That's that whole thing of I gotta save face, and instead of just listening to the feedback he was given. But anyway, Shay leaves, so Alicia and Shay are eliminated, and they leave the resort. It is the next day. What everyone is just kind of dwelling on the ladies that went home, and kind of thinking about it. And it looks like you see Denise, Rashid, Joy, and a couple other people at the table just discussing things. And Denise does say she wants to be more vulnerable. She's gonna, kind of let her guard down and learn some things from her talk with Calfani. And it's good to kind of see her and Rashid sitting at the table. It looks like they're pretty cool, which in an episode before that, Rashid did say he felt like him and Denise were cool until Adriana brought that stuff up. So we have Simone, Adriana, and I think Alex is just an innocent bystander who's just sitting in the area. They're talking about the fact that Denise did not go home. And Simone said she only knows she has a connection with one man. And Adriana said, we know it's not Rashid. We're being petty, Adriana. No, your feelings is hurt because the game and the seeds you try to sow to get her out of there, she's still there, because she does say that she doesn't understand her confessional why Denise is still there. I didn't like the conversation because the ladies were laughing. My thing is Alex, she only has a connection with Brian, so I don't understand what she was laughing about. I don't like the fact that someone like Simone decides to talk and says anything negative about why Denise is here when she only has a connection to one person. When Simone was the same one who tried to sow a seed into Joy, or to sow a bad seed to make Winter look a certain way, because she was feeling insecure, because she felt like she wanted the connection with Jay and he was feeling them two more. I don't know, maybe the producer said, hey, here's the sheet, I want you guys to talk about this, talk about the fact of this. But Simone, you should have kept that to yourself. Adriana, I do want to say, when you made that comment, I felt like you were trying to set Denise up anyway when you went back and told when you went back and snitched and told told Rashid about what Denise said. And then, of course, I felt like you were trying to be able to choose between Cal Funny and Rashid, when Rashid had already said the only person he was feeling was Adriana. So I felt like you tried to plant that thing to set her up to go home. Confident women that say they can get any man they want don't play games like that, and they don't make comments like that. Because I was nervous. I just knew. I had already prepared myself. I told my daughter, I said, well, I'm already preparing myself for Denise to go home, because it just seemed like Adriana done sowed them seeds and she's going to be out of there. But they decided to save her because Shay dug a hole for herself, and Alicia was only feeling Brian anyway. After the discussion that the ladies have about Denise having one connection, we do see Denise and Anthony. They are on a date. When she speaks about him, she blushes a lot. There's something that she's open to there, and I kind of like that. Episode ends with nephew Tommy talking to the ladies, telling them that they were going to send one man home or have to eliminate a guy at the end of next week. He tells the girls that their friends are coming to fill the guys out. So he said, what better way to fill out a guy that you're feeling but to have your friends around? And that is exactly right. Guys, that is all I have for this episode. I need you guys to like, share, subscribe to my channel, and also click that notification bell so you'll be notified of new videos to come. Thank you guys for tuning in with me. See you soon.